I have no socks on.
Hey, peoples of YouTube and Mr. Max 3A class, we're here to talk to you about back in the day.
The 60s.
Well, yeah. So anyways, we're your hosts, the Professor.
And Peace Dave. And we're here to talk about the student movement.
Oh, I know what that is. See, check this out. See? Student movement.
No. The student movement was basically when students opposed the U.S. political leadership and were dissatisfied with American culture. Because of this, they created the Students for a Democratic Society and Southern Student Organizing Committee, or SSOC. Because of this, they risked alienation from friends and family. So just as a review, the student movement was when students opposed the U.S. political leadership and were dissatisfied with American culture. Because of this, the students created Students for a Democratic Society and Southern Student Organizing Committee, or SSOC. So that's what the student movement was.
Oh, I'm sorry, what?
That's what the student movement was.
Oh. See, now I know what it is. No, and hopefully the rest of the class does too. Right?
Do you have something to share?
No.
Well, then I suggest you actually do some work and tell the rest of the class about the counterculture.
Okay, fine. I'll talk about the counterculture. Alright, so anyways, the counterculture basically took place from 1960 to 1973. Yeah, and anyways, there was a lot going on in America. For instance, we still had a lot of racial tension, also, America was trying to follow these, sexual norms. So, some other place you'll hear, sexual mores, but it's basically the same thing. Anyways, you know what? We got various other things going on. We also had the Vietnam War, which was a huge part of the counterculture, as well as the student movement. Also, you know what? We also had psychedelic drugs, which I'll get to later. Yeah, I will. Yeah. And, really, a huge part of it was, the youth really didn't have a voice at the time like we do now. They didn't have YouTube. They didn't have, their own little web shows or whatever. No. What they did was they turned to the arts, okay? They went to music, concerts, theater, literature, all really, just to get their own voice heard. And you know what? A lot of the time, you have to break an egg to make an omelet. So they rebelled a lot. They went against all these American social norms like you see on Leave It to Beaver, Nick at Night and stuff. And you know what? They also used drugs as a form of rebellion too. And at some point, a lot of people argue it's not just, just drugs. It's a lifestyle at this point. Anyways, the big reason that drugs really got popular, especially psychedelic drugs like LSD, was because this guy named Ken Kesey and his quote merry prankers went across the country on a CIA project called the MK Ultra project. This was basically started in 1959, which led to a segue to the 1960s. Now when this really hit was what was it, 1964? And this is when they really caught into the hippie culture. Now with the human being, on January 14th, 1967, a new culture was born, the hippie culture. So anyways, dang. Oh yeah, hippie culture. The word hippie actually derives from the word hipster, which also refers to someone who was moving to Hyatt, San Francisco, California. Now with the human being on January 14th, they just immediately started taking up, the LSD. Now, of course, by this time, LSD had been claimed illegal, as well as many other psychedelic drugs. Now, luckily for this time period, this guy named, Osley Stanley cooked up some of his own, quote, white lightning LSD in his own basement. Now, he made huge amounts of this stuff for the human being. And you know what? It's pretty fun too. Not endorsing drugs though, 'cause, it's a school thing. And this really absorbed the hippie culture as well as the counterculture. Now just remember, drugs, pop culture, drugs, music, these were all huge things back then. And this also, a huge event back then was the Summer of Love in San Francisco, that following summer actually, of the human being. And, see, I talked about drugs, talked about the counterculture, I talked about hippies in the counterculture. Can I talk more about drugs?
No, you can't talk more about drugs. Go see a counselor when this is over.
You can't make me. Trust no one over 30.
That'll be enough of you. That'll be enough from you. So class, now all you know about the student movement and the counterculture. So now it's time for review. On your own, write down the definition of the student movement, the primary points of the student movement, and some facts you found interesting.
Oh, and while you're at it, be sure to include the dates of the counterculture, as well as some important events that you found fascinating or that you may think will be on a test later on. Also, be sure to include huge events back then too, as well as stuff that was going on in America at the time. Now we have been your hosts,
Peace, Dave,
and the Professor. Thank you all for tuning in.
Now go take your seat and get ready for the quiz.